Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. We are planting a couple new plants in the yard this year and I have a trick to show you guys with a Swiss Army knife and an empty milk jug. Let's get started. So we are growing a garden. Wordplay. The wife is very much into natural, healthy foods, holistic medicines, stuff like that. We have elderberry, mulberry, pear trees, apple trees, all sorts of things. So we are just now starting to plant a few more plants, wordplay, this year. And one of the things you need to do when you're putting them in the ground is make sure that the soil and sunlight is correct, but also to be pretty generous and regular about watering. So I did a little bit of research online and I've come up with this trick last year, but I thought I'd go ahead and share it now that I have a viable YouTube channel. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to provide 1 gallon of water to a plant and we're going to trickle feed that water. So the idea behind this is instead of watering a plant with a garden hose or a watering can or something to that effect, the water is going to evaporate away. It's on the surface of the ground. It's going to evaporate in the wind and the sun. And any water that lands on some of the new leaves and whatnot could burn the leaves away with acting as like a magnifying glass kind of situation. So the benefit with this guy is, 1, it's mobile. 2, you have a 1 gallon capacity if you need to add any kind of fertilizers. We don't, but if you do, I would imagine it'd be a 1 scoop per gallon ratio, something like that. And this will allow you to feed, or water as it were, the plant over a gallon of water directly to the root system. Again, bypassing the wasted water through evaporation and burning the leaves and stuff like that. Basically, all we're going to be doing is on your Swiss Army knife, hopefully, it has a pen stored in the scales. If it doesn't, a sewing needle, a push pen, bulletin board pen, anything like that will be sufficient. I then use the pliers, and we want to grab down low on the point of the pen. Now this one has already been bent, a double bend on it. I don't know how well you can see that. The double bend makes it where it's less likely to fall out of the scale. This is a well-used tool, but we do not want to bend or damage the pen any more than it is. And we know that all we're going to be doing is puncturing through the bottom plastics. So the idea is we're going to take the push pen and we're going to pop a series of holes in only the bottom of the milk jug. So I'll usually put one up here in each one of the corners. Six, 7, 8. And then I'll usually put one, so we did around the perimeter. I'm going to go ahead and put one in the center. And this milk jug has a ridge down the middle. I find by putting 2 holes in either side of the ridge, regardless of the topography of the surface you're putting it on, if you're to put this on a relatively flat surface, these 2 would still be exposed with a little bit of air getting through there, and these 4 will continue to dispense the water, even if the rest of the jug is relatively flat. Okay, so what do we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So I have about 16 holes in there. You can always add more holes. It's a lot more difficult to get rid of holes. What I have found is you have a couple different options if you retain the lid. Typically, I will remove the lid, and this way the water doesn't generate a siphon effect or a suction effect. There's no vacuum in here. The idea behind that is, let's say this is 100% full. As it starts dispensing the water, if I were to leave this lid closed, it's essentially sealed in the top part, right? So once the water gets down to here, it's actually pulling a vacuum, and it's going to slow down the water substantially. If I were to leave the lid on there, but only like 1/8 of a turn on, a little bit of air can get in there and it will speed it back up again. You can pop a single hole in the lid and that will prevent it from getting any kind of vacuum. Or you can just remove the cap completely and that will allow it to free flow. In my testings, again, I came up with this last year. I've been using it for the last year. This is a new one that we're going to be putting into the rotation. I think it takes about 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours to dispense the full gallon capacity. So it can be regulated if you keep your lid. But let me go ahead and fill her up. We'll take her outside. I'm going to set up a time-lapse video and I will show you how to install one of these and how to use it. Very beneficial for new plants, plants that are in the sun that are going to require water, potted plants especially. This is a relatively small footprint, and this could be done with any of your smaller soda containers. So if the footprint is of concern, you could get a longer, taller one that takes up a smaller footprint. This guy, again, the 1 gallon capacity is largely what we're looking for. And by having the handle still on there, I can fill these guys up with the rainwater. I can carry around, I think, 3 of them per hand and dispense them wherever they need to go. So let's go ahead and set this guy up and show you guys how it works. So we have planted a new cherry tree. We dug it out, we put fertilizer, we put the mulch, all that stuff. And now we have our water jug. So we'll just set it in place. What I've learned to do is when you fill it with a gallon of water, it is going to weigh about 8 pounds. But as that water goes away, the wind can easily knock it over, blow it away, stuff like that. So I found that if you add a couple pieces of gravel, it will help keep it upright and keep it from blowing away. And I'm going to go ahead and add that now. So we've got our stabilizing gravel in there. Going to go ahead and fill it up with water and we will see how long it runs. This guy has not been watered as of probably 18 hours. So the soil could be slightly damp, but it is not wet. And that will give you a better idea of the run time on this guy. But this is a great way to recycle and reuse the milk jugs that you're probably buying anyways. And it will help keep your plants happy and healthy. So let's go ahead and set up the time lapse and see how long it runs. So here we are 3.5 hours later. We're essentially empty. We have maybe a 1/4 inch of water remaining. So you get about 3 hours, 2.5 hours, depending on how many holes and where you put them and all. All that water went straight down into the ground. No evaporation from the heat or the wind or anything. Again, great use of recycling containers. And you can see here that you just have a slow trickle over as wide of an area as you would like, depending on where you put the holes and how many holes you put. But a great way to, especially with rainwater, if you have a bucket of rainwater or something like that, you can just dunk this right in, fill them up real quick. You can carry it around the yard and it won't drip too much. And set it next to whichever plant needs the water, and you're squared away. So as I said, this is a easy way to teach kids about recycling, teach kids about nature, the requirements of plants, stuff like that, for potted plants and plants that are in the ground, and get the kids involved and give them something to do this spring and summer. So this is outside the target demographic. As always, I appreciate your guys' time. Any questions, comments, concerns you have, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.